evening again to everyone, and welcome to yet another engaging webinar brought to you by Synergida. Our goal is to provide you with expert insights, valuable industry practices, and practical tips on OKR, performance management, and the latest HR trends. As always, I am your webinar host, Mashuma, and I'm excited to present a fantastic lineup of insights and expertise only tailored for you. To all the attendees, in case of any questions, kindly please write it down in the question pane section. We will try to take maximum questions at the end of the session. Now, let me introduce you to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Jessica Brown. With a remarkable background in organizational and leadership development, consultant and coaching, she possesses extensive experience working with all organizations of all sizes. Her primary focus is on creating, promoting, and delivering solutions designed to support the organization's vision and mission. Her passion is helping companies build solutions and systems for accelerated and sustainable organizational and leadership excellence. During the past decade as a coach, she has helped leaders develop their skills and styles to be more successful in their roles. She works with leaders on an array of topics including emotional intelligence, delegation, time management, feedback, conflict resolution, employee development, and much more. She has also served to organizations by designing and delivering successful programs in strategic planning, including OKRs, leadership development, team building, change management, performance management, succession planning, and many more other topics. Jessica's consulting and coaching offers clients insights and assistance in establishing best practices in organizational and leadership development and building effective and efficient companies that get results. Now, without any further ado, let's dive right into the heart of our discussion. Firstly, thank you so much, Dr. Jessica, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Really glad to be here.
Even we are very honored to have you here for our monthly webinar series and educating us. And I'm eager to hear your insights on our today's topic, which not only talks about relationship of OKR and the employees, but also links towards companies' growth and success. In a world where business dynamics continuously evolve with technological advancements, I would like to know, about your insights that what are the emerging trends in planning and managing strategy in an organization to achieve growth?
Absolutely. So I think we're seeing in the past more organizations kind of had a strategic plan. It, got written at the beginning of the year, and then it mostly sits there on a shelf. Little measurement of it, little clarity on how to, or it's really tactical. So we're seeing more of a merge in finding ways to bridge the gap from strategic planning and just writing a plan to actually managing and executing effectively and efficiently on that plan in a continuous manner.
Yeah, absolutely, Dr. Jessica. It's fascinating to see how these strategies can drive results. Building on that, I'd like to ask about what role do tools and technologies and resources play in supporting employees' engagement and productivity?
Sure, I think that there's so many applications and tools and technology out there today. In working more remote than we've ever have before, in having to collaborate on more than we've ever have before. I think that applications and tools and technology really help support keeping people interactive and collaborative across countries, across the world, and being able to execute on work. So I think they've been very much helpful in expanding that ability to collaborate and be interactive, get people engaged in gamification and all of these things.
Yeah, as you said, the role of technology in data analysis and collaboration is indeed crucial, and especially OKR can be important asset to the management. Now, to pivot the challenges of organizations might face when implementing strategies like OKRs, what are the typical obstacles and potential pitfalls that organizations encounter when incorporating the OKR into their strategic processes?
Sure. So like any kind of change, OKRs is a change. So it does take time to implement. Sometimes organizations try to do everyone in the organization all at the same time. Hey, everyone just write some OKRs. We find that doesn't actually get the alignment and the engagement. It just becomes something to do. So I think the first pitfall would be around really planning and making sure you're clear on how you're going to implement OKRs, how deep in the organization. Some go to the individual level, some just stay at the organizational level. And how to make sure that each of those layers of the organization are trained, get a period of practice in OKRs and learning the process and really the habits that come with OKRs, writing good OKRs is one big one. Another one, I think, again, is that inability to actually create the meetings and execution steps that happen after writing OKRs, right? Just like a strategic plan, just writing some OKRs down isn't quite the end of the process, it's the beginning. So moving them along throughout the year, checking on them, rewriting in quarters and things like that. Having that system to make sure that we are actually working on our OKRs and we're moving forward on our OKRs.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering the importance of aligning OKRs with the company's strategic goals and engaging employees effectively, it brings us to the key aspect of this process. That how can organizations foster active employee engagement in attaining OKRs that are in harmony with the company's mission and values, and what strategies are most effective in achieving this alignment?
Sure. So the first aspect of the question, fostering employee engagement and getting the OKRs in alignment with mission and vision and values. I think that we've all been employees at some point, and really employees need to know really well how to do it, right? We need to make sure they have the training and know how to do it. They want to understand why we're doing it, what's the value, what's not just for the organization, but for them, for their team. And then they want the very clear expectations and timelines of what's expected of them in participating in it. When you give employees these pieces, they start to more likely get on board and adopt the change to making OKRs more of a habit than just a once in a while follow-up kind of thing. Employees really want to know how they contribute. So when you have OKRs and they're aligned, you as an employee can see how your role impacts your team's role, which impacts your department's role, which impacts the whole organization's results. And so that's when you start to feel important. So I think that's the piece of engagement. When it comes to alignment and making sure that, those layers of the organization are truly aligned, I think it really comes down to the behaviors that you do in your planning process. It's not just everyone go in their offices and write some statement and some numbers down. It really is about teams coming together, leaders with their teams at every layer of the organization. So me as the leader of my team, I am meeting with my teammates and asking their opinion on what our goals as a team should be this next quarter, which makes me as a team member feel included. And then as a leader, I'm going up to my leaders team and meeting with my colleagues and learning about their OKRs and what their teams are working to achieve. So when we have this alignment where leaders are working at both layers, the layer above and the layer below them, that's when we really start to get alignment, when people work together to set these goals. So everyone is bought in to the plan because they were part of making the plan.
Yeah, absolutely, Dr. Jessica. As you have emphasized, the critical factors in engaging employees and gaining alignment through cascading OKRs. Now, I would like to explore the advantages of incorporating the OKR cycle and timing of reassessment and recalibration. What, according to you, are the key take advantages of incorporating the OKR cycle, and at what intervals should organizations typically reassess and recalibrate their OKRs to maintain their pertinence and efficiency?
Absolutely, absolutely. So first, I think the advantages are we could all be on a boat, and one important thing to move a boat is rowing, right? But if we're all rowing in different directions, then we're still not going anywhere. We're going in circles. So it's really about more quickly and efficiently getting everyone aligned and on the same page about what is our priorities, what are we really aspiring towards, where we're going, and most importantly, how they play in that future accomplishment of that goal. So I think that's a big advantage. And OKRs is a lot more simple thinking about than some of the other strategic planning methodologies where, what is a goal, an objective, a strategy, a tactic? What are the nuances between all of those? This is everyone has an objective and key results. It just depends on the layer of your level of the organization. I think when it comes to timing, I think all organizations do have to figure out their own. The goal with OKRs is not necessarily to make more meetings, but to replace and make more effective meetings on a cadence that's already working for you. What I tend to recommend is that organizational level OKRs are written annually, similar to a strategic plan. So what's the whole organization want to achieve in the next year? And then departments, teams, sub-teams, individuals, all writing at about a quarterly cycle. I have worked with several organizations that have adopted a three cycle, where the cycle is 4 months instead of the quarterly cycle. So I think it depends on the organization. If you're already working pretty effectively on a quarterly cycle, then it should meld in well. If you're a newer organization or you're a smaller organization where you're starting to work towards strategy, you can always start with that. I find the planning cycle and alignment can be a little challenging at the end of the quarter. You do have to review and then replan. So sometimes giving it a 4-month cycle will work as well. So organizationally, I'd say write them annually and really stick to your plan for the year. And then all of the teams below that are writing quarterly or 3 cycles towards making sure we accomplish that.
Yeah, absolutely, Dr. Jessica. The insights you have shared and on the advantages and timing on OKR are invaluable. Now let's delve into the key ceremonies and gathering of the OKR processes. What, according to you, are the fundamental OKR ceremonies or gatherings that organizations usually conduct throughout the OKR cycle, and what makes them integral to the process?
Absolutely. So to simplify it, I think there's 2 levels, again, organization and everything below that. I think organizationally, an all hands meeting once a quarter is plenty to help everyone in the organization understand how we're doing on our OKRs thus far for the year. But there's 3 phases to the OKR cycle. There's the planning phase, there's the execution phase, and then there's the reflection phase. And so in the planning phase, you want to make sure every single team that's doing OKRs, that means the leader and the direct reports, are all meeting and planning together, and then having an alignment meeting as well. So the alignment meeting is when the leader writes the team's OKRs with the group, and then the individuals go to their teams and write their OKRs with their their next level teams, and then come back with their leader and share. So we get to understand what everyone in the team and the teams that report to those people are working on to come together to accomplish our team's higher level team's goals. So a planning and alignment session for each team. Then I recommend during the execution, at minimum, a monthly meeting. You don't really need to meet more than a month. These aren't your KPIs, so to speak. So once a month as a team, a leader and their team come together and review where the team is at on the team's OKRs, but also where individuals are at and what support they need to move to the rest of the month and accomplish what they meant to. And then lastly, the reviews meeting, where at the end of the quarter, we come together, we see how far we've come, we learn about not only our OKR process, but what pitfalls we had in getting accomplished what we wanted to. And then that conversation leads right back into the next planning phase. So now that we've gotten this far, where do we want to go in the next quarter? And you continue that cycle of about 4 different types of meetings in a quarter.
As you mentioned, the OKR cycle involves several key ceremonies at different organizational levels. How does the OKR planning ceremony plays a distinctive role in establishing the overall atmosphere and direction for the entire OKR cycle?
Sure. So, we have over 500 hours in a quarter to effectively operate and achieve our goals. So we suggest taking, a good 2-3 hour, depending on how big your team is, planning session at the beginning of a quarter. So that we're not wasting that time. Everyone is on the same page. So these the planning sessions are very important because, one, it gets everyone included. Instead of my leader going into their office and writing goals for the entire team, they've come to me and my teammates, and we're going to write those as a team. And that makes me feel included, and therefore I'm bought into the plan. I know where I should play in the plan and where I should contribute because I was conversation. And so it helps everyone understand how they need to work together to accomplish a superordinate goal. So a goal that's much bigger than just one person, which are what the level of team goals are. And so I think that it's very important to get it done in the beginning of the quarter. That way everyone is on the same page in how they contribute. That's where we can effectively execute the rest of the quarter and check in. And then we're able to review and start that planning again. So I think it's very important to make sure you do that and the alignment step.
Dr. Jessica, as you pointed out, fostering inclusivity in the OKR planning process is essential. In what ways can data analytics and business intelligence tools support organizations when implementing and managing strategy through OKRs?
Absolutely. So again, similar to above, technology has made it so much easier to interact and collaborate. But on top of that, with OKRs, the OKR platforms out there now can help you not only interact and collaborate, but track metrics in the data of OKRs. So being able to like somebody's increase of a key result, being able to comment and ask a question about something like you would on a message board, being able to access the data in real time. If we're having everyone update their data on a weekly basis, I can more effectively log in, look at the results of my team, and on a Monday know who I need to talk to, who I need to work with, etc., and then be able to be much more effective because I have the data and it's updated data. It's not end of the quarter data. So I can react to it and potentially it can indicate to me if there's something going on. So platforms in OKRs, I find 90% of the time when we're still just using Excel spreadsheets, there's something missing in engagement. So when we get a platform or a tool, OKR tool involved, there's a lot more ability to, again, interact, collaborate, and utilize it instead of a static kind of Excel document or something like that.
Indeed, data analytics and business intelligence tool provide crucial insights for decision making. Does OKR also supports the growth and capabilities of leaders to foster productivity and growth?
Absolutely. So when leaders can make better decisions, when leaders can write better goals, when leaders can provide autonomy because they know that them and their team member is on the same page. So as a leader, when my team member has written their OKRs and I know that those align to the team OKRs, we've had a conversation about it and made sure that we're in alignment and agreement on their OKRs, then I can let them go do the work independently. I can let them be more autonomous. I can empower them because we are on the same page about what is to be accomplished. And they can know when to come back and we can check in as a team. So it helps leaders have a management style that helps prioritize things. So, you know, if it's not a priority, should we be spending as much time as we are? And these are clearly our priorities. So it helps a lot with all of those different areas of leadership and management to be able to utilize OKRs and the process to create a habit within your team of paying attention to metrics, focusing on priorities and prioritizing and all of that.
As you have highlighted the significance of OKRs in empowering leaders, now I'd like to shift our focus to a broader organizational aspect, that how can organizations create a culture that encourages employees to take calculated risks and see challenges as opportunities for growth? And how can organizations promote a culture where employees feel comfortable taking calculated risk and embracing challenges as opportunity and growth?
So this is a great one because many times I see this over and over again with implementing OKRs. People are afraid as humans in our societies to set goals that they are not sure they can reach. So when OKR starts at the organizational level, an organization writes them at the senior executive level, then those get cascaded down and then departments write OKRs that align up to the organization. And then teams write OKRs that align to the departments that align to the organization. So the organization starts it all and they do they create this culture of taking more risks, and I like to call it being more aspirational by setting the aspirational goals for the organization themselves, by role modeling that it's okay if we are not achieving our OKRs 100%. Actually, you don't want to be achieving your OKRs 100% because that means you're not being aspirational, you're being baseline. So helping employees by role modeling it, by not punishing them. So we do not actually recommend that OKRs are linked to performance management. Achieving a key result is not a ding on your record of performance. What we do recommend is performance management include engagement in the OKR cycle. So asking people, hey, you haven't written OKRs in the last 2 cycles. That's what we want to talk about in performance management, not you didn't achieve this key result. So by removing it from performance management, I have more ability to set higher goals because I'm not fearful that if I don't achieve them, I'm not going to get my bonus, I'm not going to get promoted, etc. So those are some ways that the organization can create a culture of aspiration and inspiration.
OKRs indeed can encourage not just the employees but also the management to take calculated risk and strive for aspirational goals, and in return they'll get the results. With this, I want to explore the concept of strategic management misalignment, that what is strategic misalignment in an OKR, and how does the issue of strategic misalignment intersects with an organization's growth trajectory, and what practical strategies can organizations utilize to mitigate and rectify this challenge if it arises?
Absolutely. So when people don't understand how they contribute, whether it's an individual, whether it's a team, and really understand how they contribute to those higher level goals, then they're more likely to be working in multiple directions. And that's where we get misalignment. And when we have misalignment, we can lose a great deal of time, effort, resources on the way to reaching our goal and our potential. To mitigate these, I think there's two key practices. One, the cascading, what I call cascading of planning. So really the organizational level OKRs need to be written and finalized before departments finalize their OKRs, and the department's OKRs need to be finalized before the teams that report to that department are finalized, right? So as an employee, do my planning, I know exactly what the level above me is trying to accomplish. So if that cascading happens in planning, then we have people planning based on exactly what is expected to be achieved, the level above that they report to. I think the second one is really about that team alignment session. Most organizations do the planning session where we plan goals for the team. Those OKRs are actually the leader's OKRs because the leader is responsible for the results of that team. Then, as we said before, the members go to their teams, write OKRs with their teams. But what most organizations miss is bringing that same team back together one more time before execution starts to get alignment on what each member of the team, right? So if I am let's say a sales team or a marketing team, we might have different legs of marketing, and we need to bring marketing all together so that one, we're not duplicating effort, two, we know how to help our teammates, we know where they're working and what they're focusing on, so helps us understand what to focus on. We know how to support them better, all of those things. So I would say cascading of planning, one, and that team alignment session where you come back together after the first layer of planning and discuss what your plan is.
Yeah, absolutely, Dr. Jessica. It's always a team game. Like you said, if each team leader is bringing together their team members to kick off the cycle and share where all the team members are contributing and discussing dependency and collaboration, then we gain alignment from the beginning. And when the beginning is well executed, it is often leads to successful end results. Now, moving ahead to our last question of this session, what key takeaways or ideas from today's session do you believe has the potential to spark meaningful discussion and positive changes in one's professional community or network?
So I think whenever we all share with our network and talk more to each other about our challenges, when it comes to strategy, today we are still very tactical. It's very project oriented and task oriented. It's still quite uninclusive, where everyone in the organization is not participating in strategy, just a few at the top are. Therefore, many organizations, people don't even know what the strategic plan is. So I think, considering that we're discussing OKRs and strategy, what's really important to talk about with your network and community is, how can we be better at strategy? How can we be more inclusive, less static, less tactical? And really, is OKRs or something like OKRs for us?
Thank you, Dr. Jessica. We have received few of the questions from audience side. So shall we take the question one by one?
Absolutely.
Okay. So first question is, how can organizations strike the right balance between setting challenges, OKR, and ensuring they remain achievable?
So being achievable is, in some ways, not always the best, right? So let me say this correctly. Let me give Google as an example. Google OKRs came from the Google mandate. When OKRs first came out, Google's OKRs, they set a goal of, I believe it was like 20 million users their first year. That was their key result. They wanted to be the best browser, and that was their key result. They only reached about 10 million the first year. But instead, what most people and organizations would do is, the next year they went into planning, they'd be more realistic. They'd say, well, we only reached half of what our goal was. Let's just set our goal for a little bit more than, what we had thought. Maybe keep it at 20, maybe make it 30. Google more than doubled their goal to 50 million users, even though they didn't even reach their first goal, their first key result. That year, they got 32 million, I believe it was. So again, still did not make the mark, did not achieve the key results, but they more than tripled, almost tripled their result. Finally, in their third year, they doubled their goal again to 100 million. That was their key result that they were shooting for, and they finally surpassed it. So they reached over 100 million. So sometimes, it being really aspirational and inspirational, all we're doing when we don't achieve it by the first year, it just means we were slightly off. We're still going to achieve it eventually if we keep shooting for it. We just might have been off on time. So achievable, it can be distracting, because you don't necessarily know what's achievable, and you're really shooting for what you want to shoot for. If you make a 5-year plan and you don't reach the exact metric in 5 years, all that means is it actually was going to take 6 years to get you there, right? But you're still putting in all the effort. So I suggest being pretty aspirational at this level. This is not your performance metrics, which means if you delve below this metric, if you do not achieve this key result, you're fired, right? OKRs is not meant to be used that way. It is meant to be shoot for the moon, and we'll get pretty darn close, even if we don't get there. So you don't want to be achieving your OKRs 100%. You want about 85% achievement, which means you're being really aspirational, you're stretching yourself, you're challenging yourself. And you're more likely to achieve more when you set higher metrics as well. I hope that answered your question. Thank you for the question.
We have our second question. How do you see the future of OKRs evolving, and will using OKR give me results in employee productivity?
So OKRs is a very simplistic process depending on how many layers of the organization. Each layer, each team does the same thing, and then we go across organizations. It evolving in the future, I don't see it evolving in many ways. It is one of those methodologies that stays pretty tried and true. I feel like it will continue to grow. More organizations will start to adopt a concept like this, getting everyone in the organization more involved in the strategy level and in concepts in the organization. And the last part about productivity, I think when your people know that what their metrics are, what their priorities are, right? You don't, an individual doesn't have, or a team doesn't have, 20 OKRs. That's way too many, right? So we only suggest about maybe 5 maximum OKRs, depending on what layer of the organization you're at. So this helps a person to understand, during my time, I have some free time. What should I use it towards? Well, let me look at what's top priority based on my OKRs. So you're able to be more productive because they're focused on the top priorities continuously and more often.
Dr. Jessica, we have another question. Question is, what are some best ways for setting the right key results and that are truly indicative of progress towards your objectives?
So if you write key results in a very outcome fashioned way, then they very much can be representative of your objective. There's several ways. We could probably do an entire webinar on writing good O's and KRs. But for example, a good objective to me has the what and the why. So what are we focusing on and why are we doing it, right? So we want to enhance our organizational culture and teamwork to produce or to have more employee engagement. What do we want to focus on? Our culture and teamwork to do what? And produce more engagement. When I can read those clear words, that's where my key results can come from. So I really should have a key result on measuring whether the culture went from here to there. I should have a key result on measuring how teamwork is from here to the end of the cycle. And I should have a measure on employee engagement. And at the end of the cycle. Those are the 3 minimum key results I would have that would make sure to represent and achieve the objective. Let me know that I'm achieving the objective that I set out. What we do find is many times OKRs are still very tactical. So write 5 blogs. But we have to think about what is the purpose of those 5 blogs? Why are we actually writing 5 blogs? If I wrote 5 blogs and we got not a single new unique visitor to our website, who cares about those 5 blogs, right? So if we put thresholds in, like 5 blogs with at least 100 unique visitors, then I could have to actually write 20 blogs in the quarter, but at least I make sure I get 5 that have brought us 100 new people. The other thing about key results is they do get more tactical towards the bottom. So your organizational key results are going to be very big picture. They're going to be much more high level, right? Revenue, number of customers, customer satisfaction score, employee engagement score. As you get down it through departments, teams, and individuals, when you get to individuals, they are going to be slightly more tactical because it's one person doing something. So it could be write 5 blogs with 100 unique visitors. So it really is about how well and clear you write your key results in alignment with your objective, and how outcome-based your key results are versus tactical-based. So I like to ask myself sometimes with key results, so what? So what if I wrote 5 blogs? Oh, okay. Well, we want to have 4 team building events. Well, what if nobody shows up? All right, well, we want 4 team building events with 90% of the team there. So those can help get more clear really towards the goal that you want, the objective and the intention.
Dr. Jessica, we have another question. Are there any specific industry or type of organizations for which OKR might not be the most suitable goal setting framework, and what alternatives should they consider?
So I don't think that OKRs are industry specific. I think that they're very simple. It's, you have an objective and key results versus, again, the list of objective, goal, strategy, tactic, So I haven't found a specific industry. Sometimes certain teams in the organization don't have as many OKRs as others. A lot of times I think the finance team tends to have a fewer OKRs because they're not touching the customer or the product or the service. But overall, I think it could work for all organizations. I think you're able to tailor it and customize it enough for your organization to do all the way down to organization individual level. Maybe some organizations just do organization and department level. So I think industry wise, it's still pretty open.
We have next question. How do you recommend handling situations where team members are not fully aligned with the OKRs or may have different interpretation of their objectives?
So fully aligned, I'm gonna guess that they're writing OKRs that are kind of not aligning. I would recommend more of the alignment behavior. So as a leader of a team, say I was a leader of a team, I would have a planning session with my entire team to write the team's OKRs, which are basically my OKRs. I go finalize those. I share them with my team members. They go and write OKRs with their teams. And then there is an alignment step with the leader where the individuals come and bring their OKRs before they're finalized to have a 15-20 minute conversation with their leader. That is my time as a leader to course correct. Your team might have came up with a great idea, but we have different priorities for this quarter. So we have to put that one on the back burner. So we, as a leader, I have a 20-minute conversation with each of my team members individually before they finalize their OKRs. Then we come back together as that team alignment session and they share the finalized OKRs and we talk about how everyone has to work together, what everyone's doing, and what we need for the quarter. So that little 15-20 minute conversation with each person, that person that's not aligned with OKRs, that's where as a leader you become an OKR coach yourself, and kind of asking the questions that get them to the OKRs that you think are valuable for them and the team for the quarter.
Our next question is, what tools and software platforms do you recommend for effectively managing and tracking OKRs within an organization?
Well, we know our wonderful host here has an OKR platform. I will not necessarily say there's a lot of great platforms out there. What I would say about platforms is whenever possible, I would recommend adopting what I call an OKR plus tool, right? So it's not only OKRs, but it's got other capabilities. Employees are, although technology is wonderful, they are burnt out on it, having a new application and a different password for everything. So when you can, there's several APIs and platforms that integrate with your HRIS system or other things like that, or that do other things other than just the OKR piece. So I think each organization has to identify the platform that works best for them by demoing them. Each organization has a different preference around technology, the interface, and a different need for it. Many OKR platforms do feedback and recognition. You may already have something for feedback and recognition. So just making sure that you're clear on what you need for them, and then demoing a couple. But I would, when possible, getting one that has a couple more, or a build package where you can start with just OKRs, but can build on performance management or feedback and recognition or learning or whatever all of the possibilities are.
We have our last question from audience side. What are the key differences between OKRs and other performance management frameworks, and what sets OKR apart in terms of driving organizational success?
So I'm a firm believer in OKRs are not performance management. They are strategic management. So as I mentioned before, I find whenever an organization ties OKRs to actual performance management, so your performance review, achieving key results, is tied to your performance review, your bonus, your promotion, all of that. I find that people do what we call sandbagging. They set the bare minimum. They make sure they achieve 100% every time. And so when we open that up from performance management and call it strategic management, and then we still have our performance metrics, where if somebody does not do A, B, and C at the level of acceptance, they're fired. That's performance management. Using OKRs helps us be more aspirational, so it actually helps us achieve more. So if I were to draw a line, and this is going to be a little weird, if I were to draw a line here of performance, and this is your baseline line of what you could achieve, and if you set that baseline, you will probably achieve it. If you set a super aspirational goal, a really, really aspirational goal, fact is, you are absolutely right. You're more likely not to achieve that really aspirational goal. But what you'll find is that you achieve more than the baseline. Even though you didn't achieve the highest result you shot for, you achieve more than the baseline because you shot for higher. So I do believe that when we do OKRs in an aspirational way, we don't just repeat KPIs or KRAs either, then we are able to make some really aspirational strides on some of the bigger things, right? Strategy is longer term. It's not your day-to-day operations. You know, we want leaders to be about 80% focused on operational day-to-day, just trucking along, and about 20% on strategy, where they're thinking about the next thing, the innovative thing, the how to improve things, the how to get people more engaged things, the leadership things, all of that.
So here we coming to an end of today's session. Firstly, thank you, Dr. Jessica, once again for sharing your expertise and insights with us. We truly appreciate your valuable contribution, and I'm sure our audience has gained a deeper understanding of the power of employee growth and organizational development. And
Absolutely.
to our
Thank you.
wonderful, yeah, Dr. Jessica, please go ahead.
No, just wanted to thank you all.
Yeah, and to our wonderful audience, thank you for joining us today. Your engagement and enthusiasm make events like this even more rewarding. We hope you found this session both informative and inspiring. See you all in next informative session. Thank you, Dr. Jessica.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Same
Evening.
here. Yeah.